and I make things. So we don't have the rest of the CLC kit yet, and that's supposed to be arriving the end of, well, it's supposed to be getting to the delivery station the end of this week, so probably not till next week. But I still want to do something, since this is 4th of July. Today is actually the 4th of July, and this week is the holiday week that I took off, hoping that I would have hoping that I would actually have the kit available to make this week, but I didn't because I ordered it too late. Completely my fault. But anyway, I wanted to do something. So what I do have is I do have the Harbor Freight trailer kit that's ready to get put together. And so I thought, well, maybe let's do that. We'll put together the Harbor Freight trailer, and then I can move into maybe welding it later this week, see how that goes, and put together some stuff around that to start with while we wait for the rest of the kit to show up. So I thought that'd be kind of exciting. So I actually have a Harbor Freight trailer that I put together already that I use for hauling things from here to there. And that one actually is, both of these are the folding kind. That one actually is configured to be folded up, and it actually really sits very nicely in my garage. It's titled, it has plates, it has everything. And I'm not going to use that for the camper because I already use that for hauling lumber from Lowe's or Home Depot, or getting things from here to there. So I don't want to lose that. So I'm keeping that the way it is, but I bought another kit because I liked it so much. So we're going to put that together, and then that's the one that I'm actually going to weld. And I'm not going to configure it for the folding components because it doesn't need it. And so we'll just leave those pieces off, and I'll bolt everything into place, and then we'll reinforce all of the bolted together frame points with welds, just to strengthen the entire frame. The main reason is that the whole frame is coated, and it's rust resistant. But when you have those carriage bolts, or not carriage bolts, when you just have those bolts that are in those holes, no matter how hard you tighten it down, there's always going to be a little bit of play. And over time, that bolt will start to rasp out the inside of the hole, and that becomes a rust point on the trailer. And so I think one of the biggest problems that people have with Harbor Freight trailers and the bolt together trailers that are steel are rust, and it has a lot to do with just that vibration that's happening, that's essentially sanding out the inside of that of those metal joints and causing it to rust. One of the reasons why the trailer that CLC recommends, the Trailix one, is so great is because it's an aluminum frame. So it's also bolt together, so you don't have to have any welding experience. But because it's an aluminum frame, it's not going to rust the way that the steel Harbor Freight frames will if you're not careful with how you're doing the if you don't find some way to do the reinforcement, which is what we're going to do. So I just learned welding. It's a good way for me to practice welding and sort of fun. So thought that'd be exciting. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to get the kit out. You'll see the two boxes. We'll put it together, and I'm going to probably time lapse it so it's not such a long process, because it will probably take me all day to put it together if it takes me as long as the last time. Okay, so let me start by saying that these boxes are really heavy. So it's probably, I don't know, it's a couple 100 pounds. I think each box is probably 150 pounds or so, because it's all steel that's in there. So it's very heavy. Having a dolly or an assistant who can lift is a really good idea. The first one that I had, I didn't have any help and ended up just opening up the entire box and putting it in piece by piece into my vehicle because I couldn't lift the whole thing by myself. The second one, the Harbor Freight staff had a lift that actually got it into my vehicle, which was really great of them. And then getting it out was just using gravity and trying not to smash my feet. So, yeah. All right, so we're going to open these boxes. We're going to go through what we've got. So you get a bit of an unboxing video in this as well. And you can see that this is the 1,200 pound capacity 4 by 48 by 96 inch trailer. Now understand, this is a little bigger than you probably need for the CLC. The one that they actually talk about in the book is the small trailer, which is like a 40 by 48. So this trailer is almost double the size of the trailer that they recommend, that they actually use in the book. But we're going to use that to our advantage and play around with the components. Again, we don't need to use everything to build this. I think we probably will. But we'll put together the whole trailer as is, minus the folding components. And then we can play around with configurations as we go. So let's start by opening things up. All right, so the first box we're going to open is box number 1, or box number 2, just because it's actually a little lighter than box number 1. And this one actually has all of the wheels and fenders and brackets in it. So it's a good place to start. A couple of things to note about these tires is this is the inside. You can see that right here is the grease valve for greasing the bearings. There's a bearing cap on it. One of the things that I didn't do on my other trailer, which I need to do on both that one as well as this one, is to completely unpack and repack the bearings. And I think for this trailer, not for my utility one, but for this trailer, since it's going to get a lot more miles, I think I'm going to follow the recommendation that a bunch of people have had online about going to AutoZone or someplace and getting replacement bearings to replace the standard bearings that are in here. So using high quality grease as well as better bearings. But for right now, we don't need to worry about this. We're just going to set these off to the side, because most of what's in here, we don't use. The brackets we use. Actually, the brackets, I don't know if I'm going to use those, because those brackets, these brackets are meant to hold 2x4s on the side of the trailer, but I don't think we're going to use that. So I'm going to keep them around, but I don't think I'm going to open them up, just because we're not going to put a bunch of 2x4s around the outside of the trailer. This is going to have a camper on it, but this might be handy for a mounting point or something. I don't think so, but we'll keep it around, obviously. This is the other tire. Oh, you can kind of see if I can show you. There's sort of a blue grease in here. This is just for transit. It's not actually meant to be. Sorry, the exposure isn't playing well with me. I think the white in the dark is making it hard to see. Anyway, there's blue packing grease in there, and that is that's not really meant for use on the road. Leaf springs. So some people replace these with heavier duty leaf springs. I have not really found the need for that. Maybe we will after we use it for a while, but for right now we're going to keep the existing leaf springs. Fenders, these things rattle a ton. That's fine. Leave those to the side. These are the mounting plates for the fenders. This bag is all the bolts and the brackets and the hardware and the chains for the entire kit. So you're just basically putting on tons and tons of these bolts. So we need everything in here. I'm going to put that back here. These are casters for the folding legs. So when you fold the whole trailer up and it folds in half, then it flips onto its end and sits on these casters. So the entire profile of the trailer is, I don't know, maybe less than a foot wide, which is really handy. You saw the picture of it in my garage. It takes up very little space and makes it really easy for it to be stored inside and then pulled out when I need it. But these are nice casters. I'm sure we'll use them for some other project. And then this, if I'm not mistaken, is the light kit. Yep. So this is an entire light kit. There's some fragile components in here. I've already busted the tag plate, the tag holder on my existing one. So there's some fragile parts to this. But the electronics work well, and it's a good kit. It's nice that it comes with this, obviously. So that'll get installed. And that is everything in box number 2. Okay, box number 1. Box number 1 is definitely the heavier box. That gives you an idea of what we're talking about when I say heavy. It is heavy. This is essentially all of the steel going into the trailer, including the hitch and all the braces, all of that stuff, and the instruction manual. So definitely use this. I think it's not perfectly written, but it's good enough. So I'm definitely going to be referencing this as we go through. So under here, we'll get to it. So again, having put one of these together before, I can tell you that this is part of the tongue on the trailer. So this forms at an angle. So we're going to put that up here for right now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to sort of rough out the layout of this, and then we'll put it together on the ground here. These we are not going to use. So these are part of the folding mechanism that the caster connects to. So we don't need these. So I'm going to set these to the side. Maybe we'll end up using them in another project sometime. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to put down a moving blanket for all of this. The paint's decent, but you know, this is a concrete floor, and all of that acts as a slight abrasion. And it's just not necessary. So, like that. Didn't need to do that. All right. I'm probably going to paint the whole thing. Well, I'm definitely going to paint the whole thing after I weld it, so it's not a big deal. But I'd rather err on the side of caution. So these are, again, they're part of the folding mechanism, but they're not one that we can give up because these form the side of the trailer. So the casters fit into this piece, those long pieces that we ditched, bolt to this, and then the casters sit on that. So we're not gonna remove that, but we're also not gonna do anything with that part of it. And these pull together two parts of the frame. All right, this and this together form the hitch. We need this, definitely. We don't need this right now, but this actually helps form the triangular shape for the end of the trailer. And this here is our axle. So I'll show you what this looks like. So this is a piece of C-channel, and on either end, see if we can see this. On either end, there's a solid bar in here that becomes the axle. Oops. The axle with the castle nut on it. So all of this is where the wheel mounts, and the castle nut and cotter pin are all part of that. So some people don't like this C-channel axle and how this is done. Again, I haven't found any issues with it with my existing trailer. I think the welds look really solid, but if it is, it's easy enough to replace. So we need that. And then these are the rest of the pieces. So this, with this thing on it, is part of the tongue. That's just one of the connecting plates. This is another cross. So these are cross members that go like this. These run lengthwise down the frame. So they're a much thicker steel than the cross members are. This is part of the tongue. And this is another part of the tongue. And this is the other part of the frame that the tongue connects to. So that is everything in box number 1. So let me pan this over so you can see a little better. And that's everything that's in the kit. So this is what we're going to put together into the trailer. Okay. That is our trailer. So the entire CLC camper probably can just fit on something that is this wide, from like here to here. So my plan is to shift. Let's do this. So my plan is to shift the camper or the wheel well back some and put the camper more towards the back on this, giving me more room on the front for a tongue box or something else, and distributing the weight a little bit. So I think I can move the leaf springs back with the existing holes that are in the trailer, and if not, we'll play around with it a little bit. But the idea would be that the electrical system, the batteries, a lot of the weight is going to be up front on the tongue. The camper will be more towards the back, which is, I think, a little bit, good balance. But it may need that. It may mean that we need to move the axle back so that it's not, that there's good tongue weight still. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. But for right now, we're just going to put it together, and then we can modify it later if we need to. I could cut off a section here on the end and basically just cut from basically here, cut this off and make this the end of the trailer, for instance, and that by its very nature would shift the wheel well essentially towards, it would put the wheel, if this is the end of the trailer, the wheel is about here, and it would essentially shift the center of gravity of the wheel, of the camper, which might be good. So we'll see how it all plays out. But let's finish up the trailer. Okay, so that was page 2. We're now on to page 3. So page 3 is about putting together the caster set. Now, we don't need this bar here that holds the casters, but we do need this bar here, which is the brace that kind of holds the two sections together. So that's critical for us. But that vertical bar we don't need because we're not actually, where is it? There we are. That vertical bar we don't need because that's just holding the casters and letting the whole thing roll in when it's folded up, which we don't care about. So, we got to flip the whole thing upside down. Shoot, I forgot about that. I should have done that before. Crud. Well, I should have flipped the thing before I put the two parts together because it's lighter, but I didn't. So we're going to flip the whole thing heavy and try not hurt ourselves in the process. We'll see. Okay. All right, so again, this trailer is not light. It's certainly not light when it's put together. I don't know what the actual weight on this thing is off the top of my head, but it's a couple hundred pounds. Okay. Okay, flipped. Now let's put it back up on jack stands. Later on in the build, this has to get flipped back over because this is the orientation to add the wheels and the axle. But once those are on, you got to flip the whole thing over. And I did that solo. And it is less than safe. Just pointing it out. And I will probably do it again solo, unless I manage to co-opt my neighbor into giving me a hand. He's always willing to do that. I just don't, I hate to bother him. Okay. Instructions, there we are. Okay, so, the other thing that these pieces hold is they hold the leaf springs. So, you definitely need these because these are your mounts for the axle, essentially. As well as holding the two parts of the trailer together. Okay, so we need to make sure we've got the right ones in the right place. They're not labeled. So we just need to look at them and see which matches up. So we are on the starboard side. No, we're actually on the port side, but upside down. So it ends up being the starboard side of the trailer. And we need one of these with the angle out to the side, but I need to figure out which is front and which is back. Ah, okay. That's front. Got it. So that goes that way, and it angles away. So that's the tongue. All right, I think this is my piece. Nope, that is not my piece. This is my piece. Yeah, that's my piece. That's where it goes. Yeah, we cannot move the, I don't think we can move the axle. I don't think we can move the axle without actually moving this whole piece back, which would mean putting at least 4 new holes, 2 of which are square, in the frame. So we're going to try not to do that. Not that it's terrible, but not a huge fan. All right. Okay. So at this point, oops, still working on my camera. So at this point, the whole frame's done, and so we have all the pieces there together. The next steps are really about putting on. Sorry, I'm going to adjust this a smidge. There we go. So the next steps are about putting on the mud, not the mud flaps, the fenders. There we go. Putting on the fenders, putting on the leaf spring, putting on the axles, putting on the wheels, and then putting the whole thing, flipping it all back around, and putting the electrical in, which we're not going to do right now. We're not going to do the electrical right now. So really the goal was to get this framed out and on tires, on an axle and everything. So at least I have the dimensions available. I can see what's going on. I can measure against what I'm doing on the camper. Just make sure I've got the height clearance that I expect to have, and figure out what I'm going to do with the length that I have. So, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to make it rollable, but that's about it. And then it's just going to sit outside and wait for the camper to get built.